Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Shri Radhe. Jayo Kishore, Jayo Kishore, Jayo Kishore. Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, go Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Okay, one more. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Gora Premanande, Hari Haribo. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Is there a book over there? My book got moved. Okay, thank you. Normally I don't like to sing that fast. It's the third night I played with him. I wanted to just see how quick he could go. And when he kept going and I was having trouble keeping up, I had to slow down again. Haribo. Yeah, yours. Yes, sure.
Hare Krishna. I think that only 10% of the people are here, right? I think rest of them haven't yet come. So, but still there are some people who may not know His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. So I will give a very brief introduction. His Grace Anuttama Prabhu, he is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada since 1976. So, it's over 50 years of spiritual practice in ISKCON. He's our governing body commissioner, and he oversees and inspires many temples in North America, and we are one of them. He has served as GBC chairman, ISKCON's communications minister, and he served as ISKCON's temple president at Denver and Washington, D.C. And he was very much involved in interfaith dialogue, religious freedom, leadership development, and educational outreach, including his service on the board of Bhaktivedanta College in Belgium. Now, if I were to read all his accomplishments or his services, that will be very, very long. So I'm not going to do that. We are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Anuttama Prabhu with us. And please give a warm welcome and let us hear from Prabhu. Thank you.
I think it's very good to give a warm welcome to people from outside of Chicago. Next time you could try to warm it up outside a little bit more, that'd be even better. Actually, I was raised in Detroit, but I've been spoiled. We have similar. It's a little cold for early November, isn't it? Yeah, it'll get warm again, right? And then it'll get colder, yeah. It hasn't snowed yet in Washington, but Washington's an interesting place because when we first moved there, we realized these people don't think winter exists. So I remember very clearly the first year we were there, they come on the radio and they're telling everybody, this school's closed, and don't come to work, don't come to work, don't come to work. It never snowed. And it was all anticipating there's a big storm coming tomorrow through all this, Montgomery County schools are closed, Fairfax County schools are closed, this school closed, this school's closed, this school, don't come if you work for this office, this office, this office, and it never snowed. So, realize these people don't know how to deal with snow. Yeah. I had another experience. I lived in Denver when we first moved to Colorado, and it snowed so heavy, and the city wasn't prepared. And the next mayoral elections, they threw the guy out. Yeah, that's because the snow, they weren't ready for the snow, and the city was stranded. And so the new guy came in, his main thing was, I will clear the snow from the streets. He didn't have very high aspirations for what his administration was going to do, but people had low expectations after the last guy. So yeah, snow can make a difference. So I was going to read a little bit from the Nectar of Instruction, or Sri Upadeshamrita. I think you asked the question today, right? I was giving one of those classes this morning where you hope you can't see anybody, you just see names, and you hope there's somebody at least within 20 feet of the computer. So you're not just talking to yourself. You don't know for sure. You go on, you have faith in Krishna, right? Our process is one of faith. But then I think I recognized your voice, right? So I gave an answer, and I referred to this book. So I thought this might be a nice thing for us to talk about, because it's very practical instruction for all of us. So this is text 3, and there's a very long purport. I'll just read part of it. I'll read the whole text, but then just read parts of the purport that deal with what are described as the first 3 of 6 principles that are favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. So the Sanskrit is Utsahan Nishtaya Dharyat Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrite Shadbir Bhakti Prasidhyati. So some of you've done Bhakti Shastri and all that, so you've studied this book extensively, but it's very, very good practical instructions. So, translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service, and that's our goal. We want to execute pure devotional service because we understand that we observe we're all serving beings, We serve our customers or our patients, right? We serve the government, we serve our spouses, we serve our children, we serve the taxes. I read one time some calculation, I don't know if it's exactly accurate, that in America, you typically work from January 1st until May 1st. That goes to taxes. After that, it's yours. Actually, it's your wife's and your kids, but at least there you feel some connection. Or your husband, your kids, depends, or both. But, that's a lot of work. So we're serving the government, whether we're this party, that party, we like what they do, what they don't like what they do. You're working hard. You think about it. All of January, all of February, all of March, all of April to pay taxes. So if we think, well, I'm independent, no, you're not. You have to work 4 months out of the year just to pay taxes. So we're all servants. And even if we try to be, master, again, you have to pay the taxes, or, we control so many different kind of things, but at the same time, we don't even control our bodies, right? Are you the only medical doctor here? Are there other doctors here? You also? Okay. 2. Okay, good. So if it gets too cold, we're in good hands. We take care of us. DC, there's a lot of doctors, so I give a lot of medical examples, but we know that, even the body, something goes wrong, and medicine can have so many answers for so many things, but even Prabhupada said one time that, you can have the best, maybe you've seen the best medical care, but still sometimes the patient passes away. Or sometimes there's not such good medical care, but the patient recovers. It's hard. You do the best we can, but you never know for sure. So we're again serving the government, serving our family, and serving ourselves, and serving the body, right? If I talk long enough, you're all going to get very grouchy. Your stomachs will start first growling, then you'll get grouchy, then you'll get up and leave, whatever. We're servants of the body and the senses. So here it's being described, pure devotional service, because we understand the process of bhakti. It's a question of where can I serve, what can I serve, who can I serve that actually, 1, is worthy of my service, 2, will actually appreciate my efforts without any duplicity, and 3, who can actually reciprocate with my service. Is that possible? So the principle taught by the Vaishnava Acharyas is, yes, that there is a divinity, there is a divine energy, ultimately a person who we are actually but we're created like this is our existence. We're serving energies, but we don't know where to serve in such a way that's reciprocated. And the very, very simple example is given by the Acharyas that just like if you have a plant, if you water the root of the plant or tree, or the whole plant gets energy. So the same way that we are eternally connected with Krishna, and if we serve or if we water the root, Krishna, then all the parts become satisfied. They give another example, just like, again, simple example. They make it really simple for us, so just leave it at that. If we feed the stomach, all the parts of the body get nurtured. We can just imagine, I know from the looks of it, there's quite a dinner over there coming up. So if we all went over after we chant and speak a little bit, we can try and experiment. No food in the mouth. Just play with it in your hands. Obviously, it'd be foolish because we know it has to go in the mouth for satisfaction and nourishment. But if the hand decided, I don't want to cooperate, I just want to enjoy the food myself, it can't do it. It's not constitutionally able to do that. It can try, but it's not constant. But if it feeds the mouth and the stomach, the hand naturally gets nourishment. So this example is given that for all of us, we're like little hands, parts and parcels that are trying to live our lives. To one extent, we're all trying to reawaken, but generally that in a materialistic mentality means trying to be a hand separate from the stomach, trying to be the enjoyer of the action without being connected to the stomach, really, in essence. So this verse is describing what are the principles favorable to awakening that spiritual understanding and that spiritual connection, that spiritual realization, so that experience of Krishna and of serving Krishna. And of course, along with that comes all of mankind, because everyone is, not just mankind, all living entities, because everyone's connected with Krishna. And if we see that, then we naturally feel ourselves connected to everyone. We don't discriminate. I want, these people to win and those people to lose. I like this type of people but not those type of people. Or I'm concerned about the human species but not the animal species. Or I'm concerned about this nation but not that nation. All that goes away because we see that everyone is equally connected to Krishna. So how do we develop that vision? Assuming, let's say that is a reality, here's describing how would we achieve that. So, English translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service, or bhakti, that awakens this vision, this realization. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, this is sometimes the hard one, being patient. 4, I'll just talk about the first 3, but read the rest of the verse. Acting according to the regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarnam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning, I would say from the purports described, minimizing the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas or spiritual teachers. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So read part of Prabhupada's commentary or purport. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Read that again. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, has defined devotional service as follows. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma, impersonal gyan, and all other selfish desires. End of that quote, translation of verse. Bhakti, Prabhupada continues, is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those that have no information of devotional service, And for this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical, mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Just jumping ahead again because the purport is a long one. One should accept this opportunity for bhakti to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. So here we get into the little more analysis of those 3 points. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. Anybody ever walked in the store and the salesperson walks up and says, "What do you want?" You say, "Well, I was looking for, a new telephone or something like that." We have a few, but they're not very exciting, right? Would you stay there and buy a product from that salesperson? You expect them to be enthusiastic, isn't it? Usually they're too enthusiastic, right? But at least they have to be somewhat enthusiastic. So in a similar way, Prabhupada is saying, without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishnartha kika cheshta, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In all phases of life, one has to perform devotional activities under the guidance of the spiritual master in order to attain perfection in bhakti yoga. It is not that one has to confine or narrow one's activities. Krishna is all-pervading. Therefore, nothing is independent of Krishna, as Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita 9:4. Second point, so he's talking about enthusiasm. As you continue in that part. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So that's enthusiasm. These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. We all studied the history to one extent or the other, Prabhupada's challenges that he faced. But because we continue to execute our devotional service, our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual guides and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence, and as we read, enthusiasm. Shai Namam Vishnu Paraya Krishna Bharistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharine Namasesha Shinivadi Pastatali. So just share a few thoughts on this. First of all, just want to acknowledge that I really feel I'm in the presence of some very special devotees. I first visited Naperville a few years ago when, kind of I described the other day, it was basically a little hut on the side of the road. And when you went inside, it looked like a little hut on the side of the road. You went in the basement, it was a kitchen and a little hut on the side of the road. And if you were really in trouble and you had to use the bathroom, they were definitely like a little hut in the side of the road. And we all prayed, Krishna, please, we don't want to stay in this little hut by the side of the road. And because of all of you and your sacrifices and your major contributions of time and energy and devotion and money, we have this beautiful temple now, and of course we know we're 2 phases through 17 phases, I think you revealed to me in confidence, I think. No? You haven't told everybody about the last one? No, okay, I will delete that from the tape, okay? Yeah, I think we're just with the front and then the Gopurams later. Yeah, so it's so, but it's the fact there wasn't a temple of any substance before that, even the deities weren't there. Radha Shama Sundar were not there. They were there in the closet, hiding. Yeah, there was a little hut by the corner with a closet. I didn't tell that part. Yeah.
They even walked out of the temple. They disappeared.
They did.
Yeah, somebody
They-
took them one time. I went looking for
We're recording. You sure you want to say this? I don't know. It really happened. But they came back.
I went behind the
You chased them back. I know everybody's here afraid of Premananda Machi, but I didn't know Krishna was. That's new. I didn't realize. Okay. Either way, they came back. And they were installed in this beautiful new temple. And I know there's a lot of people here that made that happen. So I just want to recognize all of you just as a group. Not going to call out individuals because you all deserve some credit for that. And thank you very much for that. Because the same way we read Prabhupada said, he gave himself as an example about the need for patience. And he said, when we first started this movement, there was little response. And it's true, there was very little response. There was practically no response for many, many months. And Prabhupada continued translating his books without knowing if anybody's ever going to publish them. He continued going out and trying to give people Krishna. He go into so many different venues and not much response at all. But he continued doing everything he possibly could. And because of his patience and determination and enthusiasm, today there's this beautiful temple that all of you have assisted in. So again, thank you very much for that. And this really is a kind of like our hometown proof of the principle that's being described here about the need to be enthusiastic and to endeavor with confidence and with patience. Because these things are specifically explained that, as Prabhupada mentions in his commentary, that it's required in any kind of endeavor, and it's also required in our spiritual life. And he mentions briefly about cultivation. Anything, bhakti is a process of cultivation. So anything that we're trying to cultivate, we know it's going to take some time, just like if you have a plant. I live in a pretty small, 2-bedroom apartment, and it's not like we don't have a lawn like Narendra has and all that, to take care of. But we have like a little corner area where we have some orchids. People give you orchids for different things. They're pretty. I don't know if everybody else does. A lot of people throw it out. The flowers fade in 2-3 months. They throw it out. But if you keep the plant, it comes back again next year. But it's a very slow process. It drops the flowers, then it drops the stem, and then it just sits there looking like, what are you doing? Nothing happens for months. And then you see there's like a little tiny something stops popping out the side, and eventually that grows into a new stem very, very slowly. You can watch it practically. Come back the next day, it's like a little tiny bit longer, and you go away for a week, it's like, oh, it's a half an inch longer. And then gradually the flowers come. And such a beautiful plant. So it takes time to cultivate that. If you try to, force it, or like other examples given, you have like a rose. A rose is such a beautiful flower, but it opens on its own time. And you give it flower, and you give it water, you give it sunshine, and it gradually opens and becomes beautiful scent like that. But if you try to force it, you're going to break it. Right? Like with little kids sometimes, right? They want something so fast they break it, and their over enthusiasm. So the same way bhakti described like that, compared like bhakti lata bija, compared to be like a plant, and that we water the plant of devotion by regularly hearing and chanting, and by doing that, our devotional creeper, it grows. So by hearing and chanting and especially association with other devotees, because with it, other devotees we can hear, we can chant, that we gradually awaken our Krishna consciousness. In other places, it's described that our Krishna consciousness, we're like people with amnesia. And maybe our two doctors confirm this, that at least one way they try to help people with amnesia is by helping them be reacquainted with the things they forgot. So maybe they forgot everything, you take them back to their house, whatever, here's your kids if it's that bad, here's the place you used to take walks. And by that association, yeah, she's nodding her head, okay, two of them, it's confirmed, okay, good. I can think of all the medical questions I asked before that and take advantage of this. And captive free medical advice here, so, yeah. So by that process, so that again, that's example that's given that we all see this to a certain extent. We've heard so many times, and practically in every page almost of Prabhupada's books and the purports, and it's almost in every exchange of sages in the Shastra. You're not the body, you're not the body, you're not the body. We hear it again and again. But we've heard enough times we're starting to believe it, right? We've heard enough times it's starting to make sense to us. So the same way like a person with amnesia, gradually, slowly it's like, oh, geez, something, I think I was here before. And slowly, then they get their memory back. So in the same way, it's like, it kind of makes sense to try to serve Krishna, the all-attractive person. Because I'm attracted to serve, strength and beauty and power. These things I feel I should give myself to try to help. These things are good causes. And so many times I give my best, but sometimes it's appreciated, sometimes not. Is there actually a person or an energy, if you will, that I can give my service to that actually will be able to accept that fully? So that's reawakening a sense of that and an understanding of the reality of that. That's what bhakti is about. And one thing that's so beautiful about the Vaishnava tradition is that unlike some theistic traditions that believe there's a personal, entity, a lot of times, and I don't know if this was the original teaching, there's a lot of debate about some of that. A lot of times those traditions decide that some people make it and some people don't. There's a joke that's told in different ways about the man that dies and goes to heaven. And, depending on the version, Jagai and Madai tell him, you can go wherever you want, or St. Peter, go wherever you want. The whole place is free. Just wander and enjoy yourself like anything. So he's wandering around, heaven's like it's a beautiful place. And he gets to some place and there's a big wall. I can hear there's people on the other side, but it's a really high wall. He can't climb over. He's not sure what's going on. So he's a little curious. He goes back to the doorkeepers, Vijay, or St. Peter, depending on your tradition. He says, you told me I could go anywhere, but I wandered around. It was very nice. Thank you for having me here. But there's this big wall, and I can hear there's people over there, but I can't see. I'm wondering, what's that all about? And you can fill in the tradition of your choice. I'll say blank, okay? He says, oh, that's just the blank. They think they're the only ones up here. I heard originally from Mormon friends who said, well, those are the Mormons. They think they're the only ones up here. Those are the Baptists. They think they're the only ones up there. They're the whatever. Fill it in, Western tradition, Eastern tradition. So Vaishnavism teaches I find one of the most redeeming philosophical facts according to the tradition or faith, you could say, is that every living entity is eternally connected with Krishna. And it doesn't matter the caste, it doesn't matter the social status, all these things. Everyone has actually got an eternal sacred identity with Krishna. It doesn't matter if in this lifetime we've experienced so many difficulties or maybe even failures. It doesn't matter if we're honored in this world or as we often are dishonored in this world. It doesn't matter how we compare each other, because there's always somebody with a better education or more money or more influence or more power. There's always somebody with less. All of those things in the spiritual context, they don't actually make a difference from the spiritual perspective. So everyone is sacred. everyone is important. I know I live in Washington, D.C. I'm sure same thing in Chicago. Sometimes you drive downtown and you see people that are socially and certainly financially hurting. And I've observed sometimes you'll be at a stoplight and some of those people, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, they walk across in front of your car so slow, and you're kind of thinking, like, why are you going so slow? Can't you tell I'm sitting here? And you get the sense this is their exhibition of power. They don't have much power, but they have power in that moment, and they got to exhibit it. And actually, all of us, we have some little bit of power, and we're exhibiting it in different ways. But Bhakti tells us you should exhibit your power in a way that will help us connect with God. Don't exhibit our power in a way like the man that's walking across the street. I mean, from everybody else's perspective, he has no power. It's insignificant. It's just an irritant. So we may have a little bit of a power, but from the eyes of Krishna, or even, higher planetary systems, you could say, or even in the eyes of history, I mean, we can become the most famous person. You could be the most famous person in America if you want to. You work hard, give your life to that. But will anybody remember 20 years from now? I mean, anybody know what's the name of pick a number, 19th President of the United States? 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd? Maybe some of you. Any high school teachers here? No, okay, cover your face. He doesn't know. Okay, yeah. So just to make the point that, yeah. So therefore, it's described this cultivation of Christian consciousness, particularly by association. It's an opportunity for us, just like we hear that if we chant, it's good for us. And it's like, well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but okay, I'll go to somebody's house. They're nice people. I got nothing else planned that night. And we go, and it's like, oh, that was pretty nice. Just like playing with these prabhus and the expert and the guitarists tonight and our electric violinists. They're nice musicians. And it's a nice experience. So it's like, okay, well, let me chant more. Or somebody says, this is sanctified food. Well, I don't know if it is or not, but I'm hungry, so why not, right? It's like, oh, that's pretty good. Think, oh, you're going to do this again next week, right? And you try it a little more. Or someone says, here's this book, and we read part of it, and we think, open a page, like, well, that kind of makes sense. So then you're like, you want to read a little bit more. And in this way, we're cultivating our spiritual awareness. In the meantime, we have so many things in our lives. We've got our jobs, we've got our kids, some of us have grandkids, we've got bills to pay, we've got so many things to worry about, things to organize, the office, this and that, so many distractions, the car, the house. That's okay. And at the same time, bhakti is so simple and it's described sublime, we can carve a little bit of time out. And I'm amazed, all of it's Monday night. I mean, thank you for being here. It's not, in case you didn't know, it's not Friday. It's not Saturday, but you're still here. I noticed, so thank you all very much for that. So we put a little bit of effort in. And the acharyas describe that Krishna is actually so kind. First, that he's a person. He reveals this in the Bhagavad Gita. He's a person, just like we're persons. And he's so kind that whatever little endeavor we make to come towards Krishna, Prabhupada explains, we take one step to him, he takes 10 steps towards us. That's pretty good odds. And that's just his nature. And we cannot, that whatever separates us from him, or whatever things we've maybe done wrong in this life, or even past lives, we can't do anything so big and so much of a problem that it would ever cause Krishna to completely cut us out. You may have people in your lives that cut you out, okay? I know I have my family members where somebody got divorced. You know what happens? But they got divorced, but they had a daughter. And the daughter cut him off. Like, you divorced from my mother? I don't want to see you again. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see my grandmother. I don't want to see my grandfather. I don't want to see my cousins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. True story. So much so that when my father died, my mother, there was a break in the cut. My mother got a phone call about a minute and a half long. I heard Grandpa died. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're okay. Click. That was it. So the nature of this world is things oftentimes get cut off. And you hurt me, I hurt you, right? Sometimes, like, maybe it's like from the movies or something, right? The mafia guy says, you know, you hurt me once, you're bad, right? You hurt me twice, my bad. We don't want to live like that. Did you follow it? If you hurt me once, you shouldn't have done it. You hurt me twice, it's my mistake because I should have made sure you don't hurt me again. Horrible way to live one's life. But it's relevant for us just because we understand Krishna is not like that. That's what's revealed in the Shastra. And again, there are some traditions, at least certain sections of certain traditions that teach, you don't surrender to Krishna this life, it's over. You go down some horrible, terrible place. We don't believe that. It's not anywhere spoken like that in the Shastra. We don't believe that. And personally, I don't want to surrender to a God that's like that. Like, you know, you have like a boss, you work in some company, they say, look, if you do good, you get a raise. You do bad, we kill you. Right? Want ads, right? Special job, like big perks, but watch yourself, right? Who's going to take that job? I wouldn't take that job, you know. But devotional service is not like that. Krishna's like, hey, you do a little something for me, and I'll take 10 steps towards you. And so that's the person we're trying to connect with. Again, it's described, the Upanishads explain that we're like the individual soul, we're in a tree. The tree is the material world. We're like a little bird trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Some are sweet, some are sour, some are sweet, some are sour. After a certain period of time, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't tell the sweet from the sour, but they're like 50-50. This doesn't seem to work very well. And then we kind of pause long enough to look around, and there's another bird next to us who's actually God. It was Krishna. It was in the heart with us, allegorically on the limb of the tree, who's just waiting for us to turn our attention to him and saying that, you know, there's another tree and everything is sweet. It's just eternal bliss. It's like, well, I don't know if I believe that. But if we study everything else that comes along with that philosophy that makes so much sense, sometimes you make a little leap. It's like in the laboratory, right? When you both took some science classes and they give you a theory and you go in the laboratory and you test it. You know, if you put this and this together, you see if it grows. You see if it stops growing. You see how it works, isn't it? So human life is meant to be like that. Again, our acharyas teach that we use our life as like a laboratory test. Krishna says, you chant my name, you become more peaceful. So we try it, and it helps. You eat the sanctified foods, it's more healthy for you, it's more healthy for the planet, it's definitely more healthy for the animals. So we try it. It's like, well, that didn't taste bad, so we do it, isn't it? Or you associate with spiritually minded people. And we all know communities are tough. It's not like everybody here is, you know, free from all the little things that drive us crazy about each other. But it's nice to be with people that at least acknowledge, I'm trying to learn to be the kind of person that doesn't drive you crazy. You know, there's a lot of people in the world that's like, I like driving you crazy. I'll continue driving you crazy. I enjoy driving you crazy. And my goal is to drive you crazy before you get to me. Isn't it? I mean, there are people like that, you know. It's like, so at least, you know, we're trying not to be like that. You know, it's nice to be with people that are trying not to be like that. And to create a place, as you have all done, where those people can come together in a sense of community. And they talk so much these days about people are so much looking for community. I mean, we're more and more connected with technology and so many things, but actually it pushes us away. You know, they've done a lot of studies. I read something the other day where I think high school, they have a policy, no smartphones, no phones at all for any of the kids from, you know, first class to the end of the class. And the principal was interviewed, and he was saying, he or she, I can't remember, when I walked into the lunchroom, when they all had their phones, it was deadly silent. Everybody was just eating and looking at their phones. He said, when we took the phones away, he said it was like most of us older folks here remember, the lunchroom was like the loudest place in the school because everybody's talking to each other and catching up and socializing, making connections. So again, it's like oftentimes the very technology that's supposed to connect us more keeps us separate. So this is a different kind of a technology. Chanting Krishna's name, hearing about Krishna, tasting the prasadam that's been offered to Krishna. And it's described we will be successful because sometimes it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita that our mind is, if it's not spiritually focused, it's our worst enemy because it's always telling us things that are distracting. We all know this. I don't think I have the only bad mind in the room, maybe. But my mind loves to tell me nasty things. I mean, it's so crazy. My mind, like if I'm up on the top of a tall building, it'll tell me, very constructive things like, jump. What? Who said that? Right? So, the mind is just like, it tells us so many things that aren't particularly helpful, to put it minimize it. So again, by chanting and spiritualizing our lives, the mind becomes calm, the mind becomes purified, and then all of these practical things of spiritual life, we realize the truth of them. So here is just giving some keys. If we want to make progress in our lives, in our spiritual lives, everything, but here we're talking spiritual life, we should be enthusiastic, we should be patient, we should endeavor with confidence. And if we do so, then more experience of the reality of spiritual life comes, and the conviction grows deeper, and gradually all the distractions go away, and gradually we realize that actually it's not just a nice theory, but it's actually, as Prabhu says so many times, it is a fact. It is a fact. And it's like, okay, well, he believes it. I'm not sure if I do yet, but I'm getting there. And his conviction, especially when we see what he did and how, I was thinking about it today. As I mentioned earlier, it was almost a whole year. Nobody was there. He got off the boat. There were no Vaishnavas to greet him. There were no temples for him to go and associate with. There was nobody else was cooking and honoring prasadam. There was no Bhagavad Gita club when he went to Butler or New York or anywhere else. There was nothing. But his conviction, his realization, his determination, and his enthusiasm, patience, and confidence was so powerful that he withstood all the different obstacles that were there, and because he did, we're here today. Really, we're all here today, and that beautiful temple is there. Kishore is there downtown because of him, and so many other communities and deities and devotees around the world. So the same way, we can be enthusiastic and patient and confident, and success. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, success is guaranteed for the rigid practitioner, and we have to be careful. The word rigid doesn't mean it's not up and down some. It is up and down. It's the way of the world. But Krishna guarantees it. I mean, we've all had a lot of guarantees that didn't work out. I've given this example a few times before. I went one time, my wife and I went to and maybe some of you have these, and I hope they've worked out well for you. But we kept getting phone calls back in the days of phone solicitations. They don't do so much these days. They just send you a text. But phone solicitations for a timeshare. We had so many times they called us, like, okay, we'll do it. Stop calling us. We'll go, So we went, but I told the lady on the phone, I said, true story, I'm not going to exaggerate. We'll go, but please know we're not going to buy anything that night. I just know, even if it's the greatest thing in the world, I just know the way I am. I am slow to make a decision. I'm not buying anything tonight. She's like, yeah, no problem. And what she really was saying was, all you have to say is yes, and I get a bonus. So just say yes. I don't care if you buy anything or not, right? So we went. And we got there, and I just kind of assumed it was going to be a group of people like this, and they're going to show us some slides and walk. That's not what they do, those of you that have done it. It's like you, your spouse, and the salesperson who has studied the nectar of instruction, because they are very enthusiastic. And they take you from room to room and tell you how it's wonderful. And at every step of the way, I told them, I'm not going to buy anything tonight. And then the last place, after they give us a tour, I remember it was this big room, and it was like a ball. Like they have, like you see, I've never been to a discotheque, but you see movies, right? Like with all the lights shining and all that. And I remember they were playing some kind of really moving Beatle music because that was that generation of people, they're playing music for that. And I was just watching all those people like with a pen in their hand, like signing for something. And I told our salesperson, I said, is your boss here tonight? He said, yes, I want to talk to the boss. He said, you sure? He said, yeah, I want to talk to the boss. So let me down some long hall. And there was the boss. The room's all fancy and decorated, but the boss was just like a desk and a light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And, they didn't need to show off anything fancy there. So I just walked up to the desk. I said, are you in charge here? He said, yeah. I said, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, how do you sleep at night? I said, you got a room full of people out there. You're selling them something they don't really want, they don't really need, and they can't afford it. It's true. And it wasn't just me, because like later, you in D.C., you turn on the radio, listen to the weather or the news or whatever, regularly hear ads for law firms. If you own a timeshare and you want to get out of it and you haven't had any luck, call Smith, Smith, and Smith. Isn't it? You hear those ads in Chicago? It's like confirmed. It wasn't just me. It's, people that, you pay for the thing for 10 years and you still, whatever, there's problems with it. But at the time, it's like they're expert in that field and others as well. Kind of convincing us that something's not, that's good for us that really isn't. So bhakti is a little more scientific, because it's like, try it, and if it works, try more. That's what the process is all about. So here we're being encouraged, and if we should try it, we should enthusiastically try it. With patience, we should try it. We should have some confidence that actually Krishna is our friend. That's the claim he makes in the Gita. He says, I am the best friend of each of you. I am looking out for your welfare. I want you to be happy. Prabhupada read the other day, Prabhupada said, Krishna wants to take us back to Godhead, back to be with him in the spiritual world more than we can desire. Which is a powerful statement to make. That's his desire. God wants us to go back to him more than we can desire. So like, okay, there's hope for me, right? There's hope. So that's kind of like what I started with, is that, mentioning about the good news is there, the positive news is there, that we just can be successful. If we just practice our Krishna consciousness, our spiritual life in this way, and don't become overly critical of ourselves or others. Sometimes there's some obstacles in the path. Some days we feel enthusiastic, some days we don't. Sometimes we have a lot of confidence, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we feel really patient, sometimes we don't. But Rupa Goswami is encouraging us, just do your best to be enthusiastic, to act with confidence, and be a little patient, and everything will come out fine. That's the promise of our acharyas. And I believe them more than the guy that was selling me timeshares. Any questions or comments anybody might have?
Prabhu, I'll start it off. So, we all have, I think it just...
Does he have these many doubts at home? I mean, every time he asks the first question, Does he express himself like that to you? Only to me, huh? Okay.
She does sometimes call me a lawyer, so I'm too technical maybe.
Are there any lawyers here? I say you can sue him for slander there.
So we tend to have someone in our life, it may be a spouse, a parent, a child, who we deeply want them to come to Krishna consciousness, and they're taking a bit longer than our patience
Taking a bit longer than you think they should.
Yes. So
and because you're God, you know what's best for them.
So how does one share Krishna consciousness with their family, or loved ones or friends? Someone they really care about.
Well, first, that's a great question. I would just, a few thoughts come to mind. First of all, we have to understand every individual soul has their own individual relationship with Krishna. And they're going to cultivate and awaken their relationship with Krishna in their own way. So we can't think that, you have to follow the way that I like to practice my bhakti, or the timing that when I was your age, right? Right? Isn't it? You like that one, Sham? Like, we've all heard the story about, you talk to like one of your older relatives, you're just amazed at how easy you have it compared to what they went through. There's a story of the one father that was telling his son, he said, you don't realize how, the grandfather maybe, you don't realize how easy you have it. When I was a student your age, we used to have to walk uphill to school every day and uphill going home. So, we have to recognize, first we have to recognize the integrity of everybody. And I mean, your kids are little, so, when most kids, you hit 13, 14, they don't want to do it just because their parents say that you're supposed to do it, whatever, come to the temple, whatever. They want to have a positive experience on their own. So that's with kids or with other family or friends. Everybody's got their individual free will. We should try to make it as attractive, make Krishna consciousness as attractive to others as we can. We use this term in communications, what are their needs, interests, and concerns? Like maybe you come for the kirtan. Somebody mentioned this to me just the other night. Whatever, the parents want the kids to sit through the class because that's what really inspires them, and that's what convinces you. The kids just want to go to kirtan. It's like, no, you shouldn't go to kirtan, you have to go to class. Well, why do they have to go to class? They want to go to kirtan. It's like if you sit down for prasadam and somebody says, don't eat the sabji, eat the rice. And you're like, why? Well, because I like the rice. Isn't it? A reasonable response is like, I'm glad you like the rice. Do you want mine? I'll take your sabji. Right? Isn't it? So, I mean, different, they expect different strokes for different folks. So I think that's a big part of it. I mean, sometimes, they use the term like Jewish guilt or Catholic guilt. I think there's Vaishnav guilt. I'm supposed to make this person Krishna conscious. I'm supposed to make them a devotee. But we can't. We're trying ourselves to connect with Krishna, and we can help welcome people into Krishna consciousness and try to make it attractive. And we should make it attractive. The temple we should really rack our brains to think about, okay, I come to the temple because whatever, I like, the spicy cuisine. But other people all like spicy cuisine. Or I come to the temple because I don't care that there's no lights in the parking lot, but somebody else may only come if there's lights in the parking lot. So we have to think about, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj often would say that preaching Krishna consciousness means removing the obstacles between an individual and Krishna. What's the obstacle? And we're supposed to remove it. Not just we grab them and say, Krishna's over there, and we shove them through the wall. That's not right, because what is it that's preventing them? And it can really vary. And what is it that's attracting people? So everyone is an individual. We try to facilitate everybody's individual choice towards Krishna. And Krishna is also, we know, Krishna's a person. So he hears your prayers too. I mean, my wife cries every time she hears it, but Gauravani has said, my son has said many times, the reason he's a devotee is because of the prayers of his mother. And, he went through some rough times of his life but came back to Krishna. And he says it's because of the prayers of his mother. And we have so many examples in the Shastras, like great devotees praying and having some impact. So we should pray for those that we care for, those we want to bring to Krishna. We should try to make sure the community is there in such a way. And also understand that the people have free will, and pushing too hard or nagging, it can really have the opposite effect. And just, especially too with parents, you reach a certain age and, you can tell your kid all day long, make your bed, right? But he's not going to listen until his friend comes home and goes, I can't believe you didn't make your bed. No, I was just about to do it. Right? I mean, you guys are older. It affects young people. What do you think? Is that true sometimes? Okay, well, forget your bed. How about putting your shoes in the rack? How about doing your homework first thing? Anyway, the point is, how old are you? Yeah, you're right at that point. Like, there's like a transition point that, psychologists tell you your peers become more important in your perspective than your parents do. So, we have to be kind of sensitive. I mean, I remember, like, again, Goravani was a kid. It's like, okay, you got to be in bed at 8 o'clock. And by the time you set that rule, he's already got 6 friends who are up till 8:30. So he just at 8:30, like 2 weeks later, he wants 9 o'clock because he's older, he's more mature, isn't it? You got to and you think like you got to change, you have to adjust. So same thing with people's spiritual life. Welcome people to Krishna. I don't want to be forced. Anybody here want to be forced to surrender to Krishna? Doesn't work. I want my free will, my love, my devotion. I want to surrender. And I'll surrender when I'm convinced. Right? So he's working hard to convince us all against our free will sometimes. That's why he doesn't force us, but he shows us. He gives us the choice. We have to make sure we give people the choice. Okay? Yes. Oh.
Prabhu is very good in Q&A, and every time we have done, Prabhu, can you see?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, wonderful class. I had a question.
She likes hats. Last night she was serving prasadam. She had the funniest hat. Everybody in line had the same hat. I was trying to figure out, how do I get one of these hats? And tonight you have a different hat. Yes.
Yes. I was wondering, like, where you mentioned that we take one step toward Krishna, and Krishna takes 10
Yeah, I don't
steps.
mention. Prabhupada says that.
Yeah, Prabhupada mentioned that. You explained beautifully.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we take that step and Krishna takes more steps towards us, we sometimes, due to under influence of Maya or our own free will, we tend to take steps backwards. So what can we do in that?
Shame on you.
What can we do in that situation?
Funny response. One word would be suffer. Because every time we take a step away from him means we're going back into a material consciousness, which is limited. It's the world of envy. It's the world of anger. It's the world of lust. It's the world of selfishness. I mean, there's 3 modes of there, so they're struggling. It's not like everything is pure here and everything is bad there, but we're moving towards that other energy and away from the light, from the purity, so to speak. But it's natural. It's just the term that's given is awakening or reawakening our love of Krishna, reawakening our self-realization, our spiritualization. And because we do have free will, and because we've been here, we don't know how long, but at least, this life, we have certain habits. So it's natural that sometimes, we move a little bit towards Krishna, and then we may feel like, well, I don't know, this just seems like a little too much. And then we maybe pull back a little bit. But then we realize that pulling back, it's not everything it's cut out to be. And then we decide, okay, Krishna, I want to come a little closer again. That's the only answer that really comes to my mind. It's a natural process. And if you feel yourself pushing back, like it described here, actually, enthusiasm, confidence, and patience, sometimes we're not so enthusiastic. And I find I normally don't do like home programs like 5-6 days in a row. And I've told these guys I'm really limited because I used to do kirtan all the time, but I don't years and years ago. And I've got like 2 melodies, right? So after like 6 days, like, whoop, here comes again, same melody. But I have to think, and I try to actually think. We should think, this may be the last time I get to lead kirtan. I mean, it sounds a little morbid, but it's not. We don't know how much time we have here. So I don't know, shouldn't I use the time I have? I mean, Prabhupada talks about, the story, I think that he personally observed, the man who was with the doctor saying, doctor, please, I have this, you told me I have this disease. I need just 5 more years to finish my plans. And Prabhupada said, but sorry, his time was up. It's not like their wonderful profession. We thank you for helping us be happy, but you can't always give us a pill or push a button or cut something open and it's going to give us another. So every moment we have is valuable. So we try to remember that. We be careful the way we use it. And those of us that are older here know it goes by fast. It goes by really, really, really fast. You may think, yeah, no way. All you old people talk like that, but you're a long ways away from me. Right? Isn't it?
That's correct.
It's correct. You know? Yeah, so just be careful. You use your time as best you can. There was a question over there, Sham. You were going to give the
No,
mic
I-
to somebody?
Here are a lot of great people, and I was wondering if anybody has any questions. नहीं तो मैं पकड़ लूंगा किसी को.
Now we all know one thing. I'll make a comment. We all know that Shampoo was really good at asking you all for money, and tonight he's just asking for questions. So you should take advantage of this. He's letting you off easy tonight.
शिवानी आप पूछिए. नहीं आप पूछिए आप.
I knew you would come.
Yeah.
मैं क्या पूछूं?
Sure.
There are always like lots of questions going on in mind.
Okay.
And at times you just don't know how to get answer. So what one do?
Oh, because there's always so many questions coming in. our
At
minds.
times some question comes, right? And I know like reading Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
give you lots of answer.
Yeah.
But people like us who start but is not consistent what that person
That's a
should
great
do.
question. I would say if there are questions that come often, you should write it down and then look for the answer or ask somebody the answer. Sometimes questions come to us and we don't necessarily know the answer. We can't find the answer, and that's where patience comes in. It takes a little bit of time. Sometimes we learn things, we see things that a year ago or 2 years ago, 5 years ago didn't click. Or we'll reread the Bhagavad Gita the second, third time, whatever, and you'll see things in there that you don't remember seeing before. Because, like my mind at least, I'll read a paragraph. You ask me 30 seconds later, what did you read? If I can remember a bit of it, I'm fortunate. And there's a lot of things there. So, we're supposed to stop now? Okay. Yeah, write it down. Ask people when you do that. Have some faith that not all the answers are going to come right now or be available now, but they will, because sometimes we just have to get more purified. And there was one other thing that popped in my mind. Yes, Ravinda Sri Prabhu, who was one of Prabhu's eldest disciples who had a PhD in religious study, a very brilliant man. He sometimes described that he would come across things, he would read things or have a question in his mind, and he described he wouldn't know the answer, he couldn't quite see how it fit in, he would put brackets around it. Like, I don't really know the answer to that, I'm going to hold that question. I'm not going to use it as the cause for me to go give up spiritual life because I don't know the answer to that question now. But I'll put brackets in, I'll come back and look at it later. And he said oftentimes a year later, somebody he'd be reading and then he would find the answer to it. Even Prabhupada had that experience. He describes that one time as a fairly new devotee, disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was visiting their mandir, their temple in Mayapur, which is still there. It's much expanded probably from what it was. So at that time there was a cobra and it came out into the courtyard and everybody froze because they weren't sure what to do with this deadly snake. So there was some commotion. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came out, I think on some kind of veranda, looked down, saw what was happening and said, kill it, immediately kill it. So somebody got a big stick and killed the snake, which was right there. I mean, could easily have hurt somebody. Prabhupada comments that he had a doubt. How is it possible that Guru Maharaj can say to kill the snake? Because he's a saintly person. Saintly person don't want to hurt anybody. How is it possible? See, he uses that term, I had a doubt, which just, in brackets, makes me feel better. Because I think, okay, well, Krishna didn't throw him away because he had a doubt. So maybe there's, I'm okay to I have some doubts too. But he said, I had this doubt. He said, but later he was reading the Bhagavatam. There's a verse, maybe you know where it is, that describes a saintly person is pleased if an envious person is subdued or a poisonous snake is killed. Because they know they hurt other people. So to see that hurt stopped, it's like the public good, okay, the snake died, of course, snake's eternal too. But the snake died, but it was to protect other people. So he said, I had that doubt, but then later I read this and then I felt relieved. Okay, that was a proper thing for my Guru Maharaj to do. So in the same way, we all have questions that sometimes pop in our mind. We can look them up. Sometimes we can find particular things. Sometimes it'll come to us later. Sometimes we can ask somebody else. But keep those questions coming, because getting those questions answered helps us go deeper and deeper in our spiritual life. A lot of people, they have questions and they try to put it aside. Why am I here? Where do I come from? Why do I die? And their friends say, just go to happy hour, stop thinking things like that. Right? There are, right? And we're just the opposite. Oh, that's a great thought. Let's discuss that. Let's try to figure it out. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, we got to go. What? Let's conclude it. Go for cake.
No, I have to say something. Is it
You guys-
finished? Everybody's question is over? You didn't find anybody?
No, they're not.
Premananda. No, you should be happy. Let him fail when it comes to asking questions. When he's raising money, we don't want him to fail.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I think some more people joined, and where is Neelamji? There, right there. Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting the program. Did everybody come that you were expecting? Majority?
A few people canceled
Okay.
last week.
She just came back from Cancun yesterday, and somehow she arranged this whole thing for us. So thank you very, very much.
right.
And we know it's a long trip because since I first started, she sat down there in the corner, leaned against the wall, put her arm in the chair. She hasn't moved since. So thank you.
She was eagerly looking forward
She's a little
for this
tired. I don't-
program.
I don't-
Yes.
I'm not
Yeah.
tired.
No?
No,
I'd be tired.
no, I'm not tired.
Okay.
What is it?
He's never tired.
I'm
She's
never
ne-
tired.
And she was very much looking forward for this program. And we really thank you, Neelamji. And love you very much. Yes. So I think I have to say something important today, because today is a very special day. And you all of you know His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. He is our governing body commissioner. And ISKCON, Prabhu has been talking in some of these classes that for people who are not really thinking carefully, we think that, okay, ISKCON Naperville, but it is just one temple among so many. And in North America, there are so many, 5-6 zones. And for each zone, there is a GBC and zonal supervisor. And Anuttama Prabhu is our GBC. And he has been making an honest effort to visit all the temples which comes under his jurisdiction, and making it a point to make sure that he connects with all the temples and the congregation, and that's a real huge effort. And it's not an easy thing, for us, even sitting in one place and doing our small services. You all know how hard it is. And so from the very beginning of this year, Prabhu has been in touch with myself and Balram Prabhu in ISKCON Chicago Temple to set up his visit. And it did not happen. We were so busy, and we have to be blamed because things were not coming together. And finally, somehow, when he booked the ticket, it happened to be this time of the year. And that too, today is his birthday. Yeah. And I have no word to explain the happiness that I feel, because not just because it is a birthday, but because Anuttama Prabhu is such a special person. I will just give you just a list of some. I'm sure I'm leaving behind some, just very quickly. The services that he has done. He was the temple president at Denver, and Boulder temples in Colorado, ISKCON Global Minister of Communications. He has been a GBC chairman in the past, convener of Vaishnava Christian Dialogue, US and India, convener of Vaishnava Muslim Dialogue in US, board member of Religious Freedom Institute, board member of Religions for Peace, board member of Religion Communicators Council, founder of ISKCON Green Team, member of Mayapur Executive Board, trustee of Bhaktivedanta College, Radhadesh, Belgium. And I'm sure I must have left out something. So it's not like it's not listing somebody's accomplishment. More than anything else, what I feel is like, I'm saying this from my heart, without any reservation, that I don't even know in my life if I have ever come across anyone like Anuttama Prabhu. He is so special in the sense that he cares for anyone and everyone that he comes across. And not only that, he's so compassionate, he's so broad-minded, he can accommodate all kinds of people, and he can positively interact with, even the enemies. This is Anuttama Prabhu. And he has been moral and spiritual strength giver for me personally, as well as for our community. So it's really, really Krishna's arrangement that we are very, very fortunate to have him as our GBC. And also, this year, for him to be able to be with us on his birthday. He need not travel out of his house on his birthday. He's doing it just for the sake of devotees like us. And so, once again, I'm so very grateful, Prabhu, that in spite of, this being a special day, you decided, to come here to Naperville to give us your association. So, so this is just my very little summary. I can talk forever, and I don't think that you would want to tolerate me for that. But we have also, so I just wanted to pray to Krishna to give you the strength and protection that you need more than anybody else because of the kind of services that you undertake. If only his one day of his service, what we are doing, all of us are doing together, it is nothing. It's a fraction of nothing what Prabhu does. So I'm so very grateful that you are in our life and in our, you are so much cherished here in ISKCON Naperville by all of us. So happy birthday, and may Krishna I don't know whether it is what to say. I know that there are some devotees here who knows Anuttama Prabhu just as how I do. So if somebody would like to want to say a few words,
that's too much.
that will be a little bit, a tiny little. Just a few people can volunteer to say
I can't tell you to stop talking, but I can tell some of the others.
But can we give a chance to at least one or two people because they are part of this congregation? And
It's her house, whatever she orders us to do.
It's everybody's house today.
do you want to say anything?
No, I didn't mean, I was just,
Here.
It'll take me a few minutes to get up.
patience, confidence, and enthusiasm. You
Everything
can do
combined
anything.
together. Thank you, Prabhuji, for gracing and blessing our house today on auspicious day of your birthday. So many happy returns of the day to you for best of health, happiness, and may you continue to guide us in doing whatever is best for the community and for everybody. Thank you.
I was confused.
Just give me. Number second. Yeah.
You just put me on the spot.
She's not putting you on the spot. She's putting me on the spot.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Many, many happy returns of the day and lots of mercy and for the Lord to, from the Lord to continue. And we could see how, as you were singing today, I was just looking at these two 18, 19-year-old, and probably your enthusiasm is surpassing them. And I was just thinking, 50 years you have been in this, and how is that possible at that age? It's not coming from the physical body or physical energy or physical voice. So I was really appreciating that. Oftentimes when I think of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, like, what is that which is, making them continue? So that's extremely inspiring. Thank you so much for coming here and seeing your dedication and gratitude to Srila Prabhupada. That's only probably our hope and aspiration that we can hold on to this. Thank you so much.
You said one or two. That's three so far.
So then I won't stop. We'll just keep I just wanted to say a few things. As many of us have had the good fortune of having His Grace Anuttama Prabhu's association, and one of the things that really strikes about him is just that I speak for myself, we do things for a motivation, for some personal aggrandizement, but Anuttama Prabhu is one person who is so selfless. I remember growing up, there was an opportunity to meet the Pope in ISKCON. There's a big thing for someone to meet the Pope, and Anuttama Prabhu asked my older brother, you go and you meet the Pope. And I remember that time my brother, all of us thinking that, he could have gone and met the Pope, and I'm sure he's met him many times, but he was always pushing others forward, that you go, you take this. He was always encouraging others, uplifting others, and himself working in the background so that this movement, Prabhupada's movement, could go forward, so that temples can be built, so that communities can be built. And if you see the communities that he oversees, I think about Washington, D.C., you'll see hundreds and thousands of people in those congregations serving in different ways, helping one another, because he sets such a wonderful example of truly, like Rupa Goswami says, service without any motivation. And his kindness, his compassion, and though he's so, he's a disciple of Prabhupada, serving 50 years, so exalted, when you're around him, you feel like he's a big brother, he's your friend. And he's just there to, he's more humble than we are when we're around him, and he has every reason to be less humble, because he's truly.
That's true. I have many reasons to be less humble, or to be more humble. I agree with that.
Yes. So that's it, the truly markings of a great person, that he does wonderful things, yet he always keeps himself in the background, very much following in the footsteps like Srila Prabhupada. And I just think that, if even 1% I could emulate his qualities and imbibe that spirit, that how wonderful life would be perfect.
Thank you so much. So we all, I'm sure everybody loves Prabhu so much, and we are very, very grateful, Prabhu. And we have a cake somewhere there, over there. And is there a knife and a plates also? Okay, so...
We'll do that later, though, right?
No, we can cut it now so that there's...
I think they're ready. They have
Huh?
another kirtan.
Oh, there's a birthday song, it seems. That's there? Okay, then after that we cut the cake. What, the cake? Okay, so then we have to remove the harmonium.
They're both here, so they want the cake.
Okay, so the cake can come to.
This is Premananda's. Maybe you can.
So that's the nice preparation there. So we'll go there. So you guys have to go there only.
Did you want to have another?
They'll come after the song. After the song. The short one? The short one, yeah.
Here?
Anybody want to try?
So this we're doing especially for Anuttama Prabhu's birthday, and we can all stand up if we like.
Hare
Gopal, 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 Gopal. Gopal, 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 Gopal. Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopala Nandala. Govinda, Govinda, Gopala Nandala. Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopala Nandala. Govinda, Govinda, Gopala Nandala. Everyone loudly. Jai Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal, 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 Gopal. Gopal, 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 Gopal. Gopal, 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 Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Krishna Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal Nandala. Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala, Gopal Nandala. Gopal, 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 Gopal. Gopal, Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala. Last time together. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala Nandala Govinda.
Now this cake cutting, right? Yes. Yeah, Prabhu, over there.
Amit Prabhu, actually I had one more, but
But after maybe.
Dear Anuttama Prabhu, Hare Krishna to you.